So a momentary lapse there, for what it's worth, obviously sometimes attitude is so critical to the process, right? I think we can only all agree, etc. At the same token, always, be stringent on oneself. Obviously, I believe in that philosophy to a great deal because discipline, focus, etc. Is beyond the scope of just this or that. Sometimes the most impactful, influential thing one might be able to accomplish or even do. For ourselves personally, in our trajectories personally, right? At the same token, then again, in different regard, sometimes the afterlife, what might be those, how we impact those, both strangers, family, what is familial or whatever, etc. After you pass away is really profound. And as some people have greater impact on this, obviously, as has been expressed, familial ties, bonds is extraordinarily valuable. But some of the greatest people obviously had greater, impact on both familial and also to the extent that their works or etc either cause joy or comedy or impact even beyond the scope of just entertainment etc this that and so on and so forth. So true. So keep it all in perspective. Sometimes this life shit is open for discernment. I just spoke with an individual. Literally, I said, as you review this content, etc., keep it open for debate that this is my own personal discernment. And my discernment, this person's discernment, and another individual's discernment, etc., might, all be similar, different, or maybe impactfully different, right? So that's only reasonable, and that's life, man. And sometimes we roll with the fucking punches, dude. So, I'm not to say I'm the greatest of this or that. Obviously, sometimes, talent doesn't bestow every individual the same, right? Some are more fortunate, as has been emphasized by, an African financial professor that he's literally black from actually, what is incorporated in America, etc. What he's emphasized and some of his teachings of his teachers and etc. Right. So this is a cyclical nature of progression from sometimes tradition, heritage, or whatever is passed down from generation to generation. Be that like familially, from you to your son or to your son to his son and etc. Right. Sometimes customs, traditions, etc. Are mannerisms and some mannerisms may be innate, from what's obviously bestowed upon genealogy, etc. Like some things do come out, like literally this or that, but at the same time, a lot of mannerisms, the majority, maybe I can't put a number on it because I haven't did any proposed research. Maybe look at Harvard, see what's going on. Maybe Google it, or maybe ask someone that has a PhD in such and they've studied their whole life. At a reputable institution, etc. So, or someone that has life experience, right? So true. But a lot of mannerisms are obviously, bestowed, imputed on another individual, so to speak, so on and so forth. So, as a token, it's not the end of the world, It's not, man. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. Sometimes it does feel like that, and sometimes it is the end of the world, right? Sometimes, I have a quotation. Literally, let me share this quotation with you for what it's worth, right? Because I'm gonna get to the point. Literally, I'm going like this, beating around the bush, and people hate when I do that. But everybody has different customs, etc. But literally, I'm gonna get to the point eventually, and obviously, it's gonna blow your fucking mind. I hope. I better write it down so I don't forget. But I'm gonna try my best not to forget as I talk about this other subject. Literally, what I was gonna say is that. Sometimes, there's nothing to it but to do it. Sometimes execution is so important, imperative, etc. But a lot of stuff is like it's been suggested. Okay, this is what I was gonna say. I'm rambling now. Do you love it? Literally, what I was gonna say is my quotation, right? My quotation is that sometimes you don't realize the value of a moment until you lose the person you shared them with. Right? So that's one of the most profound actual quotations I've ever advented, expressively and etc. So expressively and etc. So I think it's so true. Moments are so valuable only in the context that it relates to the short term, that relates to the long term. And sometimes a moment can change the whole entirety of a trajectory of an individual's life. Whether that be someone giving you a heat of advice that you actually seeks in, or someone you relate to, or something that like literally happens bad. Like sometimes people do, whether it be this, that, sometimes there's casualties of war, all this stuff, right? So sometimes terrible, terrible things happen to decent people, right? So true. But again, what I wanted to majorly emphasize for the moment is just this whole ordeal that education is so pivotal, right? So like sometimes you got to make sure that you have that mental acuity, that mental attitude, right? Attitude is a lot, like I aforementioned, right? So attitude is half the battle, and then the rest is just execution and also building the relationships, etc. So sometimes both formal and informal education are so pivotal. So don't get so blue or down on yourself that it didn't happen so expeditiously or etc. That you don't realize that if you have the right attitude, you can still make the steps progressively towards that you need. Obviously, I've suggested in the prior segment, etc., about the whole ordeal that for the cost of cheaper than possibly dinner, etc., for one, right, or two, or whatever, or no, I mean you get multiple classes for two, etc., right? So at the same token, I'm like there's options out here to learn about application building, etc. And that's the supplement and couple with your actual formal education or whatever. Whether that be a year of college. Sometimes college is from 1 to 9 years to even beyond. There's something called in the philosophy of PhD students, etc. I think it's there's an acronym. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but literally an acronym for those that just the thesis. Like I think I can't do the math now, but I think it's just like just the thesis, etc. So some people never make it happen. So at the same token, don't be one of those people. Obviously, get it done, whether fast, slow, expeditiously. Just get it done. That's half the battle. Is just getting the fucking job done, and having the right fucking attitude. And having the right fucking people around you. And that's all. So you look beautiful. Obviously, like, share, comment, subscribe. Welcome to the channel. Obviously, got to get it done. Education, again, like I suggested, is pivotal, powerful. Einstein suggested that compound interest, whether interest in or interest out, that's open for your debate, your own decision, etc., your life choices. And just now doesn't have to relate to the future, etc. But it's so true that Einstein suggested that compound interest is actually the most powerful force in the universe. So that's something to keep in perspective, etc. As far as that's mathematics for you, right? So true. And again, another ideology I expressed, etc., is that education is also pivotal. So if you want to, if you have nothing better going on, obviously not this or that. Obviously, I've suggested like in a lot of essays, etc., blog posts, etc. It's just this education, but that can be everything from specialization to training to everything, right? Like was suggested, like training, like literally like what is it, mentorships, etc., right? Or whatever. You got to get good at whatever you want to do, and obviously create enough affluence, etc., to be able to do what you want to do in life, and also to use that. And sometimes you got to sacrifice for the greater good, etc. And like it's been expressed by a very, very liberal, not in context of political, but liberal, like as far as this is not so difficult. Obviously, it's been proposed that literally with $5 a day, this was written, one of his most profound pieces, obviously, of this black scholar, etc. One of the most profound. Literally, you'll probably if you have inference, etc., you'll realize some of his work. This is the most profound work that he's literally proposed, I think. Beyond the scope of just motivation, modes of motivation, etc. It was with $5 a day he did mathematics of prior historical effect, and etc. And obviously, with $5 a day, in proper utilization, etc., you can totally create something that's not maybe maybe you're not Warren Buffett, etc., right? But at the same token, sometimes it will create a better trajectory for that of the next generation, and etc. So this is something that's to keep in perspective, and sometimes this whole life gamut is to keep in perspective, etc. So I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but obviously you roll with the fucking punches. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, baby. So like, share, comment, subscribe. Again, follow me at GabrielGriffin.com, social media, SSM. Obviously, as I embark on so much more greater trajectories for myself, obviously inclusive of yourself, in that I'm mode of motivation. Sometimes like I've expressed, sometimes, I share both my losses, my great losses, and even my greater victories or wins, or however I might have elaborated, etc. So at the same token, let's talk soon. Blessings to all. Thanks so much. Pleasure's all mine. Gabriel Griffin, sign up for the email list. Videos coming out. Propose, it's been a busy life, so at the same token, not as much as I'd like to, but obviously when they do come out, I think they'll be impactful, the rawest, the most potent, right? So that's half the battle. So let's talk soon.